Namaste, Sasriyakal, Vanakkam, Bonasera. Greetings from India, Mumbai. On behalf of the Indian music industry, the national group that represents record labels in India, the record music industry, thanks to Enzo, Rosella for giving us this opportunity to present the Indian music ecosystem, and all the best to the Milan Music Week. Hope you have fruitful discussions. I'll start my presentation. So effectively, IMI is a national group, and we represent close to 200 music labels, 204 to be very precise, on a pan-India basis. One differentiation in India, which is pretty unique to our market, we have the global majors, which you're all aware of, but we also have the national majors, because some of the record labels in India have market shares which are pretty massive in terms of market shares. And we also have another category called the regional majors. So you probably could not be on a pan-India basis, but in a particular region, you have a dominant position, sometimes going up to 75%, sometimes going up to 60% or even 80%, and we call them the regional majors. And that's the broad classification of the composition of the IMI membership in India and also the board. This is an interesting slide, and it's an interesting slide which kinds of gives you it's a large country, and I think most of you are aware of, but we have 22 languages and 19,569 local dialects. The legend goes that the dialect, the cuisine, and changes every 200 kilometers in India. And those of you who have traveled India and through the length and breadth of India, parts of India, you probably have experienced this firsthand. This is also an interesting slide because it speaks about 973 million users who will have smartphones by 2025. And there are companies in India working with global partners to kind of have a smartphone with taxes ranging in the vicinity of US dollars 100 to 150. You've got 14.55 billion digital transactions per month. So it also gives you the depth of how digitally connected India is. You've got the cheapest data pricing in the world, 17 cents per GB of data in 2022. And a middle class which has 386 and is expected, a middle class population of 386 by 2030. I think this gives you the size, the scope, the opportunity. Look at India as a Europe, because at the end of the day, with so many languages, so many cultures, and so many, the digital composition is a clear sign that India should never be looked at a country, and India should be looked at a continent, and trying to integrate the various languages and the cultural habits of people in India in the media and entertainment sector. The media and entertainment sector industry in India, global trend, the national trends. So our ministry expects that the industry will be valued at 100 billion by 2023. And it's very important while looking at the recorded music industry to look at the media and entertainment ecosystem. I'll come more about that in my later slides, but look at it holistically and not in isolation, because as you probably discovered later on in the presentation, how integrated the recorded music industry is with the domestic industry, be it broadcast television or film. The AVG sector, which is expected to grow by 43.93 billion. Now this is audiovisual, gaming, and comics. It's going to be a blend of local productions as well as the export opportunity. So it's going to be a fine blend, because a lot of post-production, a lot of animation, a lot of VFX takes place in India. So that is included in this 43.9 billion, but there's going to be a lot of local opportunity. Now, as per REDS here, the internet economy by 2030 is going to be a $1 trillion economy in India. And as we said before, 750 million smartphone users in 2021, just growing exponentially with more people, more smartphones being produced locally. Apple is producing smartphones locally now. There are global partners. There's a relationship between Jio, which is a national telecom company, and Google to make a $150 smartphone. And this is a broad trend of the media and entertainment sector in India. The good part about the recorded music industry growth rate, we've been defying the global trend and pace. Okay, we are 219 million. We were ranked, I think, 17 last year as per GMR. The growth rate was 20.3%. Okay, 86 of this came from streaming, and the global growth rate is 9.8. In the same period, India is growing at 16. So I think that is something that is attracting a lot of investment in the market. That's attracting a lot of attention to this market, the exponential growth rate. And considering that, there's going to be more onboarding of smartphones, there's going to be more onboarding of digital connectivity via broadband, data is going to get cheaper, 5G has just been launched. It's safe to assume that at a base level, the 20% growth rate that we've maintained for the last 5 years will continue, if not more. I think from early estimates for H1 this year, we're looking at 23%, but the second half has been exponentially big because we're coming out of COVID, a lot of consumption, a lot of spending, a lot of pent-up consumption. I will be disappointed if we don't cross the 25% growth rate this year. But fingers crossed, in another 1 month's time, we know exactly which way we're heading as the numbers keep trickling in. Market trends in India streaming, as I said before, it's a strong streaming market. A local report actually states, keeping all the factors in mind, cheap connectivity in terms of per GB data price points, exponential growth of broadband, penetration of the smartphone. They're predicting that the Indian music streaming market by 2025 will be 870 million. Okay, still largely ad supported, but if one goes by what was said in the last earnings call by Spotify, India played a good role, and so we're hopeful that a lot of these ad-supported consumers move to the subscription model. But also, I'm just going to share the side at this bar chart that's there. The music apps in 2020, just to give you a perspective that it's very different. Of course, things have changed the last 2 years. Things change every month in this ecosystem. But we have very dominant domestic players. You've got Ghana there. You've got JioSaavn, Wink Music. These three top players in 2020 have been domestic DSPs. Of course, over a period of the last 24 months, Spotify, Google Play, and others have ramped up. So, Spotify is today the market leader. It's dethroned Ghana. Ghana's struggling for capitalization because there's a high cash burn. JioSaavn is part of a telecom network, so they are pretty safe there. But this gives you a sense that India is a fair mix of domestic DSPs and global DSPs. Okay, the Indian recorded music market trends, regional music. So Hindi is broadly spoken in the upper part of India and the lower part of India and the eastern part of India. We have very strong regional markets, Tamil, Telugu, Malayalam, Kannada. In the south, Bengali, Odia in the east, and then you've got Punjabi in the upper part of the northern India. So the regional market consumption on OTT platforms will cross 50% of total time spent by 2025, easing past the Hindi at 45%. So as smartphone penetration penetrates deeper into tier 2, tier 3, tier 4 cities, the regional consumption takes over. Non-film music, the non-film genre has tripled in music label catalogs from 5 to 10% to 30% in the last 3 years. And that is largely due to because during the pandemic, there were no film releases. But, later on we'll discuss there's a symbiotic relationship between the film industry and the music industry in India. Fortunately for us, and thanks to a lot of stakeholders within the record labels as well as the performers, we've just signed a historic deal with the performers in India. And I think, we've seen in many markets when the performers and the record labels work together, the tide rises. 90 million a home, put your money where your mouth is. $90 million is investments that have been disclosed to the stock exchange by Saregama, a domestic label. So when domestic labels start ramping up their investments and their war chest, it's a clear sign that the party has just begun. And, a very interesting fact that came out in a study conducted by ICRIA. ICRIA is a leading think tank. I can't get the name of that think tank in Italy, but you could compare it to any leading think tanks on economics in your own country. They estimated that the informal music industry, that is people who earn a livelihood but are not part of the formal music ecosystem, these includes DJs, brass bands, is between 12 to $60 billion in India. And that's an opportunity for a lot of people who look at that very closely. And I'll just kind of do a sidebar here for you. Understand that our scripture from Vedic times, from ancient times, has always been narrated through music, as a result of which music forms an integral part of our ecosystem. So be it the initiation ceremony or what would be called the baptism ceremony of a child in India, which is predominantly Hindu, you'll have a brass band playing in the, as part of the celebrations. For your wedding, for your funeral, or for anything, there is a band involved. There's also, for festivities, what they call mobile DJs on a mobile platform, probably a pickup truck who set up his console there and belting out songs for the people, the revelers who are part of that, part of the procession or part of that entourage. So music in the informal sector is pretty good. And as I said, because music is such an integral part of our ecosystem and our society. You've got to witness it to believe it, but there are a lot of examples on YouTube for you to witness. TikTok got banned because of border skirmishes between India and China, as you probably know. India and China share huge border, but I won't get into the geopolitics of that for the time being. As a result of which, we saw the proliferation of a lot of short-form video apps, which were domestically created. And, as per a SEER report, given the fact that at any given time, we've got about 60 short-form video apps operating in this market, of which about 40 die every month and another 40 comes in. But largely, the top 10 to 20 players have been constant. They've got funding from Google, they've got funding from Amazon, they've got funding from KKR, Lehman, they've got funding from Goldman Sachs, they've got funding from every PE that is looking at India digital economy. And it's expected, as per RIA's report, we expected to have a $19 billion monetization opportunity on short-form video apps. So it's a pretty big player in India. And given the fact that we've got a lot of music, a lot of film that keeps being produced on a weekly basis, these apps are very active. Okay, and by and large, it is a digital ecosystem. People embrace it digitally. Even adults, 60 plus, have been part of the digital ecosystem in India. By 2030, short-form video apps is expected to rise from 46% amongst smartphone users in India. So right now, it's just a part of people who have smartphones use short-form video apps, but that's going to rise to 80%. Only 1% of the overall digital advertising goes to short-form apps. So that's the opportunity, just at such a low base. So anything that's going to happen on the short-form video content arena is only going to be exponential. Good for everybody, the investors, the creators, the owners of the short-form video apps, and also the people who are in a position to license them. Okay. As I said in my earlier comment, the short-form video apps have notable players like MX Takatak, Proposo, and these apps proliferated after TikTok was banned in India. And of course, you have the global players who have a footprint in India. Please keep in mind, YouTube and Facebook, Snap have got serious large operations in India. By 2030, the short-form video app will enjoy 10 to 20% of the 6 billion digital or advertising opportunity. That should be good news to all the stakeholders of the ecosystem. Facebook online services, just to give you how big these services are in India, Facebook have advertising revenues of 1.13 billion, and Google had advertising revenues of 1.6 billion. So for Google and Meta, India is a pretty big market and an important market. The symbiotic relationship between film and music. 70% of recorded music in India is film-based. These are soundtracks, so most of you all have seen an Indian film, and in every film there are 3 to 5 soundtracks, and these soundtracks form an album. It's 70%, but that's because COVID they didn't have production for 2 years, but on a normal year, 2019, it would have gone up to 90%. In the southern and eastern states, even during COVID, 90% of the local music was film-based. And both these states, the southern states, as I said, of Tamil Nadu, Kerala, Andhra Pradesh, Karnataka, and the eastern states of Orissa, West Bengal, have a very strong, dominant film industry, which is not part of what is colloquially known as Bollywood, which is largely Hindi. As most of you know, that 2,000 films are made every year, and around 10,000 original songs are produced. 80% of the top albums are from motion picture. This is as per JMR, you probably saw the record. So while there is a vibrant, independent, performer society, by and large, the music that is consumed in India is largely film-based. And it's historical because, film is a very powerful medium in this country. We make a lot of films, as you've seen in my earlier slides. The India opportunity, the film and recorded music industry in India share a unique relationship. The film market is at 2.3 billion, and the COVID impact is there. And the good part about the film industry is that there are very few market access or government interventions, excepting for censorship or excepting exceptions in terms of some states have pricing for seats, which are kind of regulated, but by and large, the film industry since 1996 has enjoyed a free run. And as a result of which, today that industry is valued at 22.3 billion. Okay. Given the symbiotic relationship between the film industry and the music industry, we should have been, somewhere, at least, we should be somewhere, I won't say to 2.3 billion, but our numbers are pretty pathetic when compared, 400 million are pretty compared, pathetic compared to what 220 million is what we did last year in GMR. And given our symbiotic relationship with the film industry, we could have done far better, but we're working hard with the government in terms of statutory licensing, in terms of the misuse of safe harbors. The same issues that you have in your markets, those are also present in India. And working with the IFPI, working with the RIA, working on a number of bilaterals, especially the EU bilateral, which is right now work in progress. In the IP chapter is an important chapter. The UK bilateral is in work in progress as an IP chapter there. So we're working to try and see whether we can have better, decontrols of the current mechanisms, which are pretty antiquated. And that's work in progress. But for me, the opportunity is if the film industry has had a free run and they can have revenues of 2.3 billion, we had 220 million last year. I think we can do far better than that, given the symbiotic relationship between film and the music industry. If anybody wants to do a deeper dive into this presentation, please visit our website, okay? And our website hosts all our research papers, which will give you an in-depth analysis of what the opportunities in India are. And, we keep uploading our research papers on a regular basis. So please feel free to kind of visit our website and see, if you need to kind of do a deeper dive in this market. Okay, the way forward. Music is now a social experience. Okay, a Nigerian song by Axel and DJ was featured in the IMI charts for 57 weeks straight as the #1 strong. So now in India, we have the international charts, and it was a Nigerian song that captured the hearts and minds of the Indian audiences. Music is trending domestic boundaries. Now, what I mean by that, in an era gone by, Tamil songs would predominantly play in Tamil Nadu, which is the south, and probably would percolate to the neighboring states where people spoke a native language. So today, it's no longer a Tamil song, given the internet, given the proliferation of OTT platforms. Tamil films are now seen all over India. They're no longer restricted to the theaters of Tamil Nadu. And last year, we had a film from in Telugu, which kind of had great viewership. I think it came on Amazon, and that song, because of the proliferation of OTT and a pan-India access, there's no boundaries anymore. You can produce a song anywhere, and it can it can fly. Okay, it can transcend boundaries. Also in terms of transcending boundaries, I'll give you another example. You had a song by a young artist who, went viral in India. That young artist was contracted by a national level rapper, and Universal tied up with that rapper, that young artist, and that song went viral all over the world. So as I said, it's no longer boundaries. Okay, in 2030, 77% of our population in India will be comprising of millennials and Gen Z, and there's no second guess that these are digital natives which stream more than the rest of the population. This is the World Economic Forum 2019 data, so that shows you we are not an aging population, and the millennials and Gen Z and Gen Alpha will only be consuming more content on the internet. Of course, the recorded music industry will be fighting for what I call the attention economy, but I think we're ready for that challenge. Our members are ready for the challenge. Another big development that will take place is the Indian government is now deciding, has now passed in Parliament, a law privatization of sports venues. As a result of which you have, each federation, the Football Federation in India, of course, football in India is popular, but not as powerful as it is in Italy. And we don't even, but as we do follow the Italian, we do follow Italian football in India. Just, I'm sure there'll be enough of fans in India following Italy's progress in the FIFA World Cup in Qatar coming up shortly. We've got cricket stadiums. Cricket is very big in India. It's a colonial sport, and field hockey is also another big sports outdoor event activity in India, and we have athletics. A lot of these stadiums today will be privatized, and you're going to see the byproduct of this is you're going to see investments from the likes of AEG, who probably want to represent, get the O2 venue, London venue in India, and suddenly you're going to also have a lot of acts, both domestic and international, looking at this market. And this is going to be a huge boost to the live events. And live events is very small in India because of lack of venues, but we've seen in other markets when live events are good, it has a direct impact on record sales. They've got various emerging formats like other markets of gaming and fitness. India is going to be a big mobile gaming market and not a console market. And I think the global gaming companies and publishers and the domestic are gearing up for the mobile opportunity. Okay, as I said, music is regional no more. We've got breakout stars coming out from all across India. And music fandom, please keep in mind that today every global act has to kind of have a budget for India, given our digital citizenry. We've got so many digital citizens in India that this citizenry actually helps in propelling the global charts. So keep in mind the native digital citizen in India while doing your forecasting. For that matter, any marketer will have to look at spends to promote a global track in India if you have to get those numbers. Sorry, that was my last slide. Thank you very much. Wish I could be there in presence, but if you need any clarification, if you need any, you need to get in touch with us. Visit our website. Enzo and Rosella have my emails. Thank you. Namaste. Sat Sri Akal.